They're replacing them with their old ones.
Yes,
Oh,
literally.
shoot.
Yeah, well. Yeah, it's totally fine.
Oh.
I'll tell you why. I spent a week at this place.
Wait, I can't read.
Oh. And it's very helpful. Hopefully, I don't know if that's right. And I'm trying to continue it. I just don't cook as good as I do. So it's harder to cook. Good.
I told my sister she
Where's the rest of our crew?
got groceries.
We don't cook as good. Sauces.
Where was it?
You know what?
Look at that.
It's 5 o'clock. We
That
should
was
just
one of
start.
my views.
I don't know.
That was one of my views.
Oh. Pretty. Fun.
You ready to go?
3, 2, 1.
Okay. This is the August 18th Brentwood Municipal Budget Committee meeting. I guess Kat and Alina are not present. I did not hear from either one of them.
Cat's at the key. Oh, right? Didn't you say that?
She may have
Didn't she
told
say
us
that
at the
at the-
site walk.
I think she
That's
did.
true. I'm sorry. I'll just look at my inbox right now, unless Alina sent something right now.
Yeah, because she was talking about how she has to drive with the child.
I guess we'll pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. First on the agenda is the meeting minutes from our June 16th meeting. I had emailed those out way back when. I also just emailed them today.
That was helpful. I was not there, so I don't think I can motion to accept. Okay, motion.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second to accept the June 16th, 2025 regular session meeting minutes as written. All in favor?
Aye.
No. Anyone opposed? One abstain. Yeah, she wasn't here. And we also have been taking minutes to all of the site walk meetings that we've had. The July 24th site walk with the rec department. We have the minutes for that.
Motion.
Yeah. Do we have enough?
Yes, we do, because Letty made a motion. Michelle seconds.
I was also not there.
Correct. But I think
But the three of us.
the three of us, it's
Oh,
good,
okay.
it's good,
All right.
it's good. Yep, we have three. So. Yeah, but when I reviewed the draft, I made sure, and I told you there was nothing that you missed.
Yeah, I think we captured it pretty well.
Again, thank you, because you captured the essence of all of these site walks really well, thank you. So we have a motion and a second to accept the July 24th site walk with recreation minutes as written. All in favor? Aye.
Abstain.
And we have 2 abstains for folks who weren't there. Next is the minutes for the August 11th site walk with the fire department.
Second.
So I have a motion from Dan, second from Letty to accept the August 11th site walk with the fire department minutes as written. All in favor? Aye. And no one opposed? Good, it's done. Finally, Michelle, again, thank you for getting these done so quickly. The August 11th site walk with the library.
14th?
Excuse me, August 14th, thank you. Yeah, August 14th site walk with the library.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second to accept the August 14th, 2025 site walk with the library as written. All in favor? Aye.
Abstain.
We have one abstain. Gabby wasn't there. Okay, that's all of the minutes. Next item is update from Select Board.
I'm on the select board, and we're in summer session right now. I'm trying to think of what budgetarily is coming up. We did hire a new finance director. I'm not sure when that starts, but I'm assuming that will have a budgetary impact. And
Any word from anyone on the initial budget requests from the department heads being?
I have not
with the
heard anything.
select
My plan
board?
is to ask that tomorrow.
Great, okay.
Because we were told a couple meetings ago that that email is going to go out on the 1st, and so I'm assuming we would have heard, or she would have heard, if people have questions or comments, and so I'm going to ask tomorrow night.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm new here, right? My first year, but for sure, everything I've read and what I kind of have seen is that the departmental request really is something that is done with the select board, that the department heads kind of get feedback and guidance from the select board, and that number is then presented to the budget committee.
Yeah, so historically, we'll go historical. Historically, the big three budgets wouldn't come to the select board until like January, and then they wouldn't come to the budget committee until after that. Last year, the board requested and received the numbers at the very least, earlier, so that we could, as we were going through budgets, make cuts if we wanted to try to get down to a certain number. And so last year, I know the select board made cuts before it came to the budget committee, and then even again, I think was it January that we made a second round of cuts?
Right.
But I don't know what's going to happen this year. It's a new board.
Right. Well, I would think from a budget committee expectation, given tax cap and, you know, what we are going to, as a group, have to go through and get that bottom line number to work. And this is what we sent the letter, right? So let's work it together, because I think it'll be a lot better for all of us if we kind of get a little bit earlier start on this, getting the requests to come in, and then together we can kind of.
Because until we know the total
Right.
of all those things, we don't know.
I totally agree with you.
Adjustments.
I totally agree with you. Well, like I said, what I read was that the initial department requests normally are reviewed with select board, town administrator, with the department heads, kind of to get the feel for what's going on, and they present that number to the budget committee. But I see no problem with if the department head has a number that they have for next year that they want, they should be able to share it with both of us. I don't see why that would be a problem. What I think that none of us, I think what you're saying is that we don't want to let this go, because we can't let it go that long, because then we're going to be stuck last minute trying to figure out how to do this.
And I think last year it was great to have an idea of what that bottom line was as we were going through those budgets. One thing that I know I've seen other towns do, because I know we talked about how in what the town puts out for town meeting and for in the town report, that there's a select board recommends and budget committee recommends. I've seen some towns where there's a department request, select board number, like there's 3 columns.
Correct.
To show that, like,
Correct.
not just the budget, like,
Correct.
right, like some.
I mean, and I really think that that's fine. I know the MS 737 form gets populated with what the budget committee
Right.
comes up with. That's the number. I don't have any problem with having three numbers there. I do. And I've seen the same thing going through the town reports of those 10 other
Because it would-
municipalities.
I think it
You
would
absolutely see that a lot of
be
cases.
beneficial both for the select board and the budget committee for people to see that like we're not
Correct.
just rubber stamping
Correct.
things.
Correct.
That even if we are accepting the department suggestion, it's not because we
Correct.
didn't look and ask a bunch of
But then,
questions.
I guess, I mean, it's not I don't think it's an issue for right now, but I would wonder if, what number do you take? Like, what number,
It's
is it
budget
the
Well-
initial, know what I mean, for like the requested column?
Yeah, it's the first number that they give us.
Yes.
think.
Versus like when we tell them to cut something and then they give us a new.
Well,
So they can't, so I am assuming that it works kind of like it does budget committee to select board, where we can give a department head a bottom line number, but they can decide where they want to spend it within their lines.
Right,
It's like we could say, well, we don't think you need to
gotcha.
whatever.
Okay, I was just curious.
because that's what I would, that's how I think it
More of a mess
works. I think
than not.
you and I are in the same space, Letty, that
Yeah.
like the departmental request is truly, you would think that's what a department head on their own, this is what I want for next year.
Then are
They
we
send that
giving
in. And
more info for people to go after and have it out for departments, or we don't care?
What do you mean have it out for department? So the way I see it is the departments can ask for what they think they need. And then the select board is gonna be the first line of deciding like, okay, you can't all get something every year, so like this year we're gonna focus on whatever. Just because,
yeah, and that's the part I'm hoping, because I think we talk about prioritizing and strategically planning, because Department A, B, C, we can't do
Totally.
all three of them in the same year, right? So we figure out together, select board, budget committee, okay, what is the priority? So Department B gets it this year, but then next year we know A, and the year after C, something like that, right? Like-
So, obviously in like a corporate world,
Mm.
which is, this is not, there would be, finance, and the budgeting aspect in finance, and not like here, but like our budget committee, who gives the bottom lines.
I hear that, but that's usually based off of like profit and where the company sits.
But now we
right?
have a bottom line number that we can't exceed.
So,
I'm just curious.
hold on.
I'm just
No,
curious.
no.
You know what I'm gonna say?
No, go ahead.
So like one of the things that I've been thinking a lot about this. One of the things that I've been thinking about, because I know that the fire department comes up a lot. And I know that's where we focused last year, because there's a goal number of people that they should have on any given shift so that they can, whatever, right? So that, in my mind, might be a good place for a warrant article. Because that way, we don't have to worry about fitting that and all of the regular increases based on inflation and whatever else all under that cap. Does that make sense? So like, we don't have to fit
Right.
the budget committee does not have to fit everything anywhere. The budget committee can only recommend a number that fits under it, but the select board can say, we understand that here's your 4%. We hear that, but we would also like to do this. What do the people say?
So I'll try saying it in maybe a little different way.
Mm.
So if you look at the appropriation for the town,
Mhm.
police, fire, whatever,
Mhm.
insurance, trash, every one of those lines, the budget committee we will come up with a number, because when you take that, and then any warrants that
Mhm.
we have, because there'll be CRs that we normally fund, right, that we have every year. So all these warrants plus all of those lines are gonna have to total a number that by the time we're doing this in October, we're gonna
We'll
have a
have
really,
much
we'll
more,
be really close, right? We'll be really close, because the revenue is the only thing that we're missing, and we'll have a really good idea. And
Yeah.
so it will be the objective by law, this committee has to make those numbers work, right?
Absolutely, but
And-
what I'm
But I
saying,
also know
if the select board has other, like,
the people,
The
the
people,
le-
if-
the legislative
yeah,
body,
right.
the legislative body could do a warrant to
Totally.
say, we want to put more money,
Agreed.
and then, or the select board, in fact, the select board, they might not even agree with all of our lines. Like if we have so much for police, so much for fire, right? They agree on the total bottom line. Well, next year, they can actually move the money anyways. They don't have to expend. So, and I think that's what you're trying to say too, so.
Well, that, yes, we get a bottom line. and
Correct.
But more what I was saying is like, so I know last year, those capital reserves that you're talking about, we didn't fund some of them.
Right.
I say we, meaning the
The
voting body.
legislative body, sure.
So I could see a situation where like maybe we put all of them on every year, but the voters decide which ones they're gonna fund in any given year, right? Like, that's the kind of thing where I could see kind of putting the choice back in the hands of the voters, because at the end of the day, whatever the budget committee thinks or whatever the select board thinks, if the voters are feeling really strongly about buying Wayne a new truck,
Correct,
and they want to make sure that that gets funded, then
correct.
so be
Well,
it.
that's what I was thinking, is that if we will probably already know the numbers for those heavy hitters, and maybe not like the mix, but we could look at actual expenditures, we can look at, well, and now that we have a cap, there's more precision, I guess, that, or confidence that we as a board, budget committee, not a board, a committee, can say, look, this is the number we think your budget will look like. And when it gets presented back to us on what is within that budget, what they actually need, what they're gonna forego, or what they think should be a warrant article, maybe that goes to the select board first and then it comes back to us. But I feel like in some cases, this is our budget and we know those numbers and we're a resource to say like, here, town departments.
But to Jim's point again, I don't want to pick departments because I don't want people to think it's real, but like, if the budget committee decides, yep, we're going to cut from this department, and the select board's like, nope, we want to leave that department alone, we want to make our cuts here, then how do you, like,
Well,
how do you balance that if you're doing it?
I know, and
Well, I think that's the
well, I think
communication point.
from the RSA, I know
Mhm.
if this budget committee appropriates, votes an appropriation for Department A,
That's
and they
the
vote one for Department B,
Mhm.
that's what goes on the 737. That's what will be shown in the appropriations
But that
next year.
doesn't mean
If
that
as long as,
you can't spend.
but next year, you're right.
Yeah.
You could spend, they could like overspend Department A's number and underspend Department B number, and that's completely within their purview.
Yeah,
But
I was just curious, like, is that helpful?
that's why I'm
I don't
saying.
know yet,
is-
because I don't know how far apart or close
Like, I
together
wonder if
the two committees, like, I
Right.
don't
Correct.
know.
I was just curious if
But
we
the
did
one
an
thing but the one
exercise.
thing that's good is the two committees do have in common is the tax cap number. I mean,
Right.
it is what it is. So
Right.
we definitely have that in common with both
It's
sides.
just figuring out.
It's just figuring out how we're gonna
who-
hit it.
Yeah. like
And
how this
That's why
wants
I
to
think we
versus
should
how-
work closely with each other.
Right.
Because we together should have to figure out, like I said, it should be about prioritizing and strategically planning what we're gonna do for the next few years, because otherwise,
Right, but I think.
I do agree with you.
But we should also
Putting-
acknowledge that even if we're coordinating and strategizing,
Hmm.
it might come down to
Two different.
this board has a different, like, not a
Absolutely.
different set of priorities.
no, it will
but, like,
be.
has
It will be.
organized differently.
No,
And I think it's
absolutely.
okay
And that is okay.
if
Right.
that
That's
happens,
healthy. I think that's
and
totally healthy.
we should just make sure that we are telling everyone, yep, like, the
Absolutely.
select board's not mad at the budget committee for picking
Right.
different
Oh, yeah.
things, like,
Right.
that is what
Yeah.
it is.
And then the other thing on warrants, like, I looked up the RSA and I talked to, I think I got it in writing from NHMA and DRA. If we do a bunch of warrants, once, it goes by the order that they are on the ballot.
Mhm.
So, in other words, we have the appropriation line, right? And then warrant number 1, warrant number 2. If you add those three together,
Mhm.
you're at the cap. Warrant number 4, 5, all of those later warrants after the 3 now have to have the additional wording that says these are going above the tax cap. The budget committee will we obviously have to say no,
Mhm.
but the legislative body can, and according to the law, which I was gonna review that later, that, you know, but it would have to
Yeah.
be in the wording,
I
and that's
think
how
that
they
we
said,
have to-
it go,
I-
DRA says it goes by the order, that the
absolutely.
order,
I
and if,
think
and if
we
the
might-
first one failed, like, then that third one, the third one down might not need the 3/5. Do you know what I mean? But they said they will
I think
figure
we
out.
should put the wording in all of the warrants, because the other thing that happens is they get moved
There you
around.
go. That could happen.
And that way,
you'd have
if
to
we don't need it, we can just make an amend, we can just
We could
amend
amend
it
it.
on the fly, just be like,
It's a
you know
really
what,
good
this fits
idea.
under the cap.
Or sometimes what would happen is we could do it vice versa. We'd have to amend it to say, guess what? We just approved this, or the people voted to increase the appropriation, right? So now
yeah.
these first two need the wording.
We're gonna
Because I
have to have
could
a
see it,
calculator.
We
I
will.
could see
We
it
will. We
being
will
like
have a
that though,
calculator.
right? Because if
Yeah, I
we-
do too.
If we get, you know, because I think the bond has to, if there is going to be a bond warrant
Right.
article, that one has to be first. and then
Absolutely.
The operating budget has to be second. And so then if people are understanding that, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
you maybe only have one or two more
Right.
before you have to start doing ballot votes, then that's
Right.
where we could see the ones coming up from the bottom.
As people express interest in
Seems
certain
like we
ones.
should maybe do some, I don't know if this board, the committee is keen on this, like having extra public sessions, but I feel like once we get closer, it might be nice to have some info sessions, like this is how the tax cap is gonna work this year, so you're not surprised. And I'm sure many, many, many people will be surprised. But it might be nice to think
Yeah.
about that.
Because the other thing that I'm not sure how to deal with when we're even doing that at town meeting is, like, I know that there are exemptions, right? Like, if it's when you're calculating the tax cap, there are things that are exempted from that calculation.
The 10% rule.
No,
Is that what you meant?
no, like, I think they said bond payments, like, there's some list of
That's
things.
10% rule, though. That's not tax cap. That's the 10% rule. Yes, you don't count, I'd have to look it up again, but that has to do with the 10%
But the
rule.
bond payments are still within the cap.
No,
No,
I'm
no,
talking
tax
about,
cap
I'm
is-
talking about, like, so for example, there's an escalator built into the trash and recycle contract. Let's not talk about trash, but I'm using that as an example, right? Like, and I know for the school district, there's an escalator built in the bus contract. I read somewhere, I thought, that is, like, doesn't penalize the cap, and I'm trying to remember exactly what. Of course, I'm not gonna be able to.
Right.
Because I
Like
think
it's
up until
by
now,
contract or something?
yeah, because it's contracted, it's not a number that we, so I think, I don't know if the whole trash section is pulled, I don't know how.
So it's RSA 3218, which is limitation of appropriations. In other words, the 10% rules. It's in the second line, it says, the 10% calculation is computed on the total amount recommended by the Budget Committee, including separate warrant articles, less that part of any appropriation item which constitutes fixed charges. And then fixed charges are defined as appropriations for principal and interest payments on bonds and notes, as well as mandatory assessments imposed on towns by county, state, or federal governments. In the town with a tax cap, the 10% rule still applies regardless of how the cap affects the proposed budget. In other words, the legislative body may only appropriate up to 10% more than the total amount recommended by the Budget Committee. And this is all, you have this.
No, I
I
don't-
presented this back in
No,
one of our
I
meetings.
think it's
and-
something different, hold on.
Okay. And I gave an example. This is.
No,
this was
because
in-
I think this is, where is the,
The tax cap,
one?
32.5.
You don't.
Of course.
I think in the email it was. I just wanted to do a quick. Oh, you might have already done this. Oh, just a different filter. Okay.
No.
I'll have to look again.
That's
Because
okay.
I thought I saw somewhere that, if it's something that has already, so like, for example, a bond payment. That bond payment has to be included in year 2 through whatever. As like,
The-
hold on. I'll just have to find it again.
The only other wording I know,
We can.
the new HB 200 law that just was passed, that does have that does have a, for warrant articles proposing bonds, notes, or other multi-year expenditures, only the first year estimated cost shall be used in counting appropriations for the tax cap.
That might be what I don't know.
Which kind of makes sense, right? Like, that's what I've been kind of touting to people, and what I showed us as a board when I looked at the different bond scenarios.
Mhm.
I was only looking really at the first year's payment, trying to figure out, because that's what's going to impact the tax cap. I wasn't looking at for the
So then
20
how do you
years.
calculate that the next year?
Well, it's in, then it would be, because now there'd be an appropriation line for that bond for whatever the amount is, like principal and interest. It's already in there. So, right, like it would, just like now, we have bonds.
Does that go towards the cap
Yes,
the next year?
it's another
Or
appropriation.
included in the cap for the calculation?
It's an appropriation line like anything else that's in the budget.
I'm just thinking, sorry.
No,
This
don't,
might
that's
be
okay.
nice.
And, we're all doing this the first time, so.
Yeah. Are there any towns that already have a tax cap that we can talk to?
Believe there is. I'll have
What
to-
happens if we get it wrong?
Oh, I think the chair of the budget committee goes to prison.
Okay, great, as long as it's not the select board rep. No, I mean, but like,
No, you'll be a co-conspirator, so.
no, I'm just,
I think honestly, I think what happens
I'm
is
sure we're gonna maybe.
DRA would notify us that
Would they?
something doesn't
Okay,
look
great.
right, but that's okay. We'll get it right. We will get it.
Well, and I mean, you.
Select board rep tries to get rid of, right? That's that.
You've communicated with these entities
DRA,
enough
yeah.
and will continue to do so as
Yeah,
this process goes through.
I'm
that
not,
Yeah.
if we,
And
there's
I'm not
something
sure
that
they
you and
Oh,
I
no,
like don't think
literally
is
have
working
no
right,
idea.
if there's something that we don't think is
Yeah.
working right, we'll go to NHMA and then we'll go to our legal
Yeah.
too. I mean, we have resources.
I think DRA versus NHMA is gonna be the way, because they're the ones that are gonna penalize us if
Ultimately,
we're wrong.
ultimately, they'll say you can't set your tax rate, or your appropriation isn't right. And they check all this anyways. They check all the warrants. They do this all the time.
Hmm.
They do now. They check our warrants,
Oh, I know.
right? Yeah, you would, yeah.
Okay.
God, where were we? We were on, this is the update from Select Board, right?
Sure. Yep. Is there anything, does anyone have any questions about select board?
No.
Nope.
We've talked enough about
Yeah,
it,
no,
but
it's
I think that is
fine.
important to make sure they're kind of, Getting
I
engaged.
ask about it all the time.
I
We're
know
coming
you
back
do.
into every week meetings.
I'll
again,
be
so-
there. You need me to step to the microphone too?
Well, tomorrow, tomorrow.
Put Jim on the agenda every week from
No,
here
thank
on
you.
out,
I know.
before he goes to jail.
Michelle has a question.
Do we have any sense of the corrections being made for last year and where that stands?
Where it stands or what the corrections are, or both?
Both, I guess. Like, where are we in the process?
I think at the last select board meeting, we were told that we were up to date. I don't entirely know what that, like what specific actions the CPA has done to get us up to date.
So does that mean 2024 is reconciled? Or we don't know that yet?
I would have to go back and watch that meeting to see exactly what, I think the question was, where are we with that? And the answer was, we're up to date.
Well, that's rather vague.
Well, it's important, right? And I'm sure you're asking because when we do start going through the budget process, and it was really good, the way you did it last year, and you reported appropriation, previous year's appropriation, the expenditure. And obviously, the expenditure number is only as good as the person who entered the transactions into the system, right?
Yes.
Because,
Well, not just that, but how well it's checked. Because
yeah,
whoever, like, the way they get enters, it's just data entry. And there is probably a reasonable amount of error with any data entry. And so that's why somebody needs to be checking to make sure, like, oh, why is this line like this? That's weird. And I don't have the answer to that.
Okay.
But you sent us the year-to-date, so
yeah, we'll go over that.
Yeah.
We'll be reviewing that, but I thought it was more of a general question of where we're at on how accurate that is.
I can ask that during the budget, or during the committee updates tomorrow night for a more
And if
definitive.
there's a new person hired, we can ask the new person.
Yeah, I haven't definitively heard when she starts, but there is a new finance director starting sometime soon, I think. So that'll be exciting.
Okay. So we're good on the select board level?
I think so, yeah.
Thank you. Dan, school board update?
Yeah, let's see. I have a couple of notes here. So finance, I know I had been sending those monthly reports, and the final version of that, finance has been working hard on all summer. Molly O'Keefe and the SAU finance team, they have to prepare a final report for the DOE, for the Department of Education. It's called DOE 25, and then there's an MS 25 as well. And so we'll know exactly what the unreserved fund balance is and what the return to taxpayers is. I have a reminder on my calendar to go review and sign that final report next week, the week of August 25th. Molly is saying it should be done. So at that time, I should be able to report back to this committee on where that fell. Just a quick reminder, I sent, the last report I sent bless you. Last report I sent in June at the time was projecting around $175,000 like return to taxpayers. But that was still very much so subject to change based on rounding out the end of year financials. And so
That's
by
usually
next
when
week.
she drops some of those encumbrances, right? Like when she builds the budget, she kind of like takes what the current staffing is and maps out what it's going to cost for the rest of the year. And as you get closer to the end of the year, you kind of close out the POs that never got used and stuff like that.
And it becomes more and more precise
Yeah.
as you near the end of the year. So I don't think it should be too far off for any reason that I'm aware of from what we last projected. But I'll share that back with this committee as soon as I have it. And then, yeah, we've been in summer session as well. School's been out. It's about to return. And our
Monday.
Yeah, Monday.
No way.
When's your first meeting?
And then ours,
back?
because of Labor Day, our first meeting of the new school year is on September 8th.
Okay.
So, yep.
Summer's over.
I know,
Bummer.
right? That's all I had from school board.
I just have one question, and you don't have to answer. If you know the answer, great. But I had someone ask me about the encumbrances on the school budget report and and it is really nice that you can see, in other words, you have appropriation, then you have year-to-date expenditure, and then you have this line called encumbrance, kind of telling you what the remainder. So if you took the appropriation minus what you've spent, you have an amount left over. But the encumbrance tells you what is committed to be spent for the rest of the year. So you truly can tell, are we over or under?
There's a purchase order out
So,
for something that hasn't come.
Yeah,
in.
my question is that, how do they do that? Like who, because I was just thinking on my own, like, well, I guess as the department head, I probably should know that and I could do it. If it was my department, I could figure out my lines, but I would have to be doing this, does the system, I didn't know how a system could figure. So my question is just, maybe you could find, if you already know the answer, that's great. You could let me know how is that done?
I'll just say from then I'll let Letty go, because she probably knows more specifically for like our finance system. But from like experience working with K-12 school districts across the country, it's like there's a high amount of sort of predictability when it
Okay.
comes to the things that they spend money on, whether it's teacher salaries, whether it's we bought this software program, right? And maybe we're being invoiced at a quarterly basis for it
Okay.
or something like that. And so sure there's like unexpected stuff that pops up, right? Like we spent more on heating this year because it was really cold or whatever.
That's what I'm saying, right? Right.
But it's the variabilities for the most part on the big stuff is pretty limited. So that's my sort of general statement, but I could ask Molly.
Yeah, at the beginning of
specifics.
every year, Molly and the finance department build those encumbrances. So the way that those are built is she takes whatever the current staffing at the school is and then projects, I'm gonna use staffing for example, because and projects out for the rest of the year how much that quote unquote should cost. And similarly, if there's
Gotcha.
a line for software subscriptions, anything where we kind of have an idea of how much it's going to be for the rest of the year, whether it's monthly, quarterly, weekly for salaries and stuff, she builds those
Got it.
in the system. But the system allows her to.
The
Because
system,
there is an encumbrance.
I was going to say the
column.
system must have some sort of a feature, and I just wasn't sure because I've never seen it on a town report. I've not seen that,
So
but maybe, I don't know if that
think-
system is
So
different.
there are a couple things about the town system that, as you know, we've called it the Oregon Trail for finance for a while now.
Exactly.
There is a column in the budget reports that says encumbrances, but I don't think well, our town has never used it like that. I think one of the reasons is because the town uses the word encumbrance differently than the school district does. I think it wouldn't be a bad idea to have, whether we call it encumbrance or something else, I think it would be really helpful to have that number, because I remember when
Oh,
I
yeah,
first
of
came over
course.
from the school board, I was like, what do you mean you're just telling me actually how much money is left at this time of year? That's really not helpful, because a lot of it's gonna be,
Right.
earmarked, if you will, for salaries or FICA.
Because
or
that's how we budget.
it makes it easier to see how much money is really available to,
Yeah, you
don't
can
wanna say
kind of,
play with,
and you can
but like-
kind of see, like, do we have a
Yeah.
problem somewhere, right? Or,
like, I
Or not.
know we, at the school board, sometimes if there was an unexpected expense, we would look at that number, like that $100 and whatever $1,000 number that you quoted, and we're like, all right, I guess we can replace this door now.
right, right,
And it was
anyhow.
helpful to have that. Because yeah, if you look at the budget right now, it says we have millions of dollars left and it's all fine. But if you were to dig into that, I don't know if it would be
Right.
that fine.
And I don't know what software anyone is using at the town nor at the SAU, to be honest. I just see the report exports, but it could
Yeah.
maybe be worthwhile to have
Oops, sorry.
the new finance director link up with Molly and team.
Mhm.
Yeah, that might be good to ask if it's possible to do something like that. Like I said, I thought when I was mentioned to me, I think it's a great idea. Like, it really is. I just was like, well, how do you do, like, how would the system do this? And if it's just, we have to go to each department head, every time somebody wants to run a report, you'd have to ask the department head, right? Or every month they'd have to,
Well, it'd have to become part of,
yeah,
The
it has to be,
process.
right,
Like, it has
correct.
to
So
be-
that's why I
I-
knew it had to be a little more
So I
complicated
can
than.
tell you that I asked Jillian to go in and try to add a purchase order, because I thought that was one way we could maybe
yeah,
work around it, where we
Yeah,
put
like
in a fake purchase
AP.
order for how much payroll is in the or police department every week. Then we could close those out as we
Yeah.
get, but we didn't buy that module, so. But that system is hopefully being replaced.
Right.
So,
I was just gonna ask that. I thought they were doing something this year,
yep.
until-
but
Maybe-
it hasn't happened yet.
Maybe
I
that's a
don't-
good
I
thing.
don't-
Maybe we
I
should.
don't have an update.
What's the new system called?
I believe it's MTS.
MTS, right?
It's by MRI, which is Municipal Resources, which is kind of the New Hampshire-based.
Yeah, they are the New Hampshire
um,
people.
Municipal support company.
Maybe that's something to ask if if we would have the ability to do a committed or an encumbrance column.
I think so BMSI was also a New Hampshire-based company, and the fact that they had that column built in tells
Right.
me that maybe other,
Okay.
towns and stuff do use that column, and so I'm assuming that it will be available in the new software. But
And it
I
might
can
be a
also
good
ask about
might,
that
might be a good
tomorrow.
question for the new person too, the new finance person.
I mean, I'll give her more than a day to settle in before I start bombarding her.
All
Guess
right, one.
what?
All right, one day.
You're right.
Special project.
You have your add it to your list.
You're right.
Add it to your list.
Yep.
All right, thank you, Dan.
Yep.
Anything else?
No.
Number 5 is budgets to review. Obviously, we don't have that. On old business, I just have here the remaining site walk schedule. This Thursday, the 21st, we'll be at the highway talking to Wayne. And then next Thursday, we'll be meeting with the town administrator to review all of the budget lines that she owns, as well as when we finish, having a tour of the Grange building, because the Historic Society had recommended that we go see that. And then on Thursday, September 4th, we'll be here meeting with the police department.
Downstairs, right?
I'll have the chief tell us whether he wants it downstairs or we start up here, whatever he wants.
It might make sense to do the talking part up here.
Yeah.
Because there's not a space down there for us.
I'm
all to sit.
thinking that probably would be good.
Usually we just.
Yeah, maybe he can do kind of his talk thing up here and then he can give us his tour.
Sure.
Again, I'd let him, they're informal, so I've really, whatever he wants to do. Updates from subcommittees. I wanted to go over the health insurance sub-team. Come on.
Ta-da. Yeah. Look at that.
We lost you.
Nothing?
What was up before and you said you didn't?
This.
Oh my
Thank you.
goodness.
Okay.
Champion.
Oh, it does not
Wah,
like
wah,
it.
wah.
Ah, E. Rejected.
Denied.
You will not talk about health insurance tonight.
There's
Does that go to Mark too? He's not here anymore.
there's no tech support.
No,
Say
do it
funny.
again. Oh.
Oh, that is.
Do you want to, oh, I don't have. Oh, yeah, check that. I don't have an HDMI.
I've
port.
used this
Oh,
every
I
other
do.
time.
Do you want to, did you send it to us? Yeah. I can try to share, although I. 17 minutes.
What did you do to make
Windows P.
I feel like
I've done this I've done this a bunch of times. We've never had trouble before. It doesn't even seem like it's taking the input.
It says upgrade available, the latest is ready for you. Is that on your device?
Oh, that's your update, not his update. Oh.
I don't know why it's like,
Did you email it?
Yeah. Right, it's this one. Yeah. I can try.
it just looks like it's not taking any inputs right now. So this to extend, but how am I gonna move it over there?
Oh, we
turned
had a
black.
sneak. No, but
It
it
just turned
started.
black, right?
This is
I
all
don't think it's
sneaky
me.
there.
I don't think it's my computer, I don't know. Should I email it?
It's not you, it's me.
I know, it's okay.
Do you want me to try a different computer?
Wi-Fi. Want me to email it to you? Today?
Is it this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Go on, I'm sorry. Switch places.
You'll be able to use your notes.
Well, I mean, if this works. Now I don't know how to do this on mine. Window. I know, that's my email. Probably shouldn't be sharing that.
That's fine.
I don't know how to do it on a Mac. On a
What?
Mac.
Where's the presentation? Click on it.
It is, it's right here, but I don't know why it's sharing that one and not this
Just
one.
drag it over. Pretend that this is a monitor next to your computer.
Ah,
There you go.
you're right, you're right.
And now,
Zoom out.
yeah, make it full screen. I don't know how to make full
I
screen.
think it's this button.
There you go. Champions.
You.
Right, you can, do you want me to drive and you can help?
I think you can spacebar too, maybe?
Thank you. Boy, that was way more complicated than I've ever had with putting something on a monitor, but, okay, so,
Like it was your computer.
the sub-team, Michelle and I, and the town administrator met with Health Trust on Wednesday, August 6th. Health Trust, just for everyone who knows, is a nonprofit risk pool for the New Hampshire municipalities. And Brentwood, we are included in the January small group pool, which is basically municipalities that have under 50 employees who do their budgeting cycle in January. Our rates are, the rates that they come up with are based on claims and trends in healthcare. And the new 2026 rates will be available on October 7th, and the new rate package will be sent to the town administrator 3 or 4 days after that. We asked them for an update on SB 297. You remember that was the law that for a while was in front of the state legislators, and we got our state reps to give us feedback on that. He said, there were some positive amendments that actually ended up being introduced into that bill, but the bill was totally dropped by the legislature. So he said, it may come back up in the future, but there is no impact on the 2026 rates based on a bill that never got to be a law, and it basically was dropped. So we reviewed the current health insurance offering and looking at possible changes that could improve the costs while still maintaining a competitive health insurance offer to the town employees. We also reviewed with him the current dental insurance offering, and the same thing, looking at, he gave us some suggestions on improving costs and also, in that case, improving the coverage that we have for our employees. And we basically, up front discussed with him the importance for us of quantifying and sharing like a total compensation package that our town employees have that,
My computer. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it did.
anyways. So the importance of sharing, and that's one of our other goals, is probably for our next meeting to try to come up with a pie chart that shows the total compensation for our town employees. I think it's good for us as a town employer to have that to share with potential when we're going to hire somebody. I also think it's good for our employees to see and understand, compensation is bigger than just salary and wages. It includes all the benefits, insurances, vacations, et cetera. So somehow being able to quantify that and be able to share that with, like I said, future employees or our employees in our town. Space?
Yeah. maybe.
Oh, great. So what this is the for the 2025 health insurance plan for the town. We offer two plans right now, an AB20, which is that first row, which is a platinum zero deductible health insurance plan. And then we offer an ABSO S20, which is a $1,000 deductible plan, a gold plan. And if you go across, you can see the coverages. So you have single, couple, family for both. Then there's number of participants. That's just how many employees signed up for those coverages during the year. The next column is the 2025 cost from Health Trust to the Town of Brentwood. Next column is the town cost for that coverage on that plan. And then it breaks it out into the town cost and then the employee cost. Those are monthly costs. And then there's a column that just shows the town percentage and the employee percentage for that coverage. The next one, where it says town highest cost, is basically just multiplying the number of participants by the total town costs for that plan.
By 12.
Correct, by 12 for the year, correct. And then you have the yearly cost per employee, which is basically that number divided by the number of participants. So you have yearly town cost per employee, and then the yearly employee cost for each one of them. So basically, the town pays 100% for single coverage and 75% for the couple family coverage of the platinum plan. So if you look at the first three rows, you'll see that for the single person, the town cost is $1,320.84. The employee cost is $0, so the town pays 100%. And then if you look at the couple and the family, the town is paying 75%, and you can see the numbers that are there. For the $1,000 deductible, the town pays the same portion of the platinum plan that the couple and family plan on the gold coverage plan. So basically, if you go across, you'll see on the $1,000 deductible plan that the town cost is, for the single plan, is 100%. For the couple plan, it's 91%. We pay $1,981.25, and the employee pays $206.83. And on the family plan, again, we pay 91%, and the employee pays 9%. We pay $2,674, and the employee pays $279. If an employee does not sign up for town health insurance, the town pays the employee $1,300 a year as an incentive bonus, or $108 per month, something. It's $1,300 per year. The budget estimate that was done was based on all the participants being full-time, and again, and plus 3 additional participants at the highest rate plan, which makes sense because you have to assume that during the year you might, somebody who wasn't taking insurance has a life-changing event whereby they can then join in, or we hire somebody. Go ahead.
Also, just so that everyone knows, I made a mistake when I was doing this form last year, and I used the wrong numbers, right? Isn't that
That's
what
okay.
we figured out? I know.
Yeah,
I just
and-
want to make
no,
sure
no,
nobody
and I-
thinks
it's-
that I'm trying
No,
to get it.
and the last line, I did put a note there, and Letty and I had talked about this
Yep.
together. The 2025 appropriation was actually calculated based on the 2024 rates. But, so it does, and I have it there, that's why you can see like the budget that we have, that is $596,674, the appropriation is $561,524. So that $35,000 difference is because the incorrect rates were used when the budget appropriation line was made. However, you have a kind of a $96,000 buffer there, right? Because in case of 3 employees.
I mean, that would be this would be
So-
a great circumstance where if we
Correct.
had it built out for the rest of the year, we
Right.
would know
Correct,
actually how much it
correct.
is.
So I don't see that, we both wanted, and I know we discussed this, so we didn't, we want to make sure people knew that that's why there was this deficit, why it's off. It's just the 2024 rates. When I first got
Nobody
this
else.
information and I've shared it with Health Trust. He said, oh, by the way, Jim, you have the wrong rates in there. That's 2024. And I'm like, well, I got this from, but yeah, so anyways, that's the current health insurance plan. And like I said, Michelle and I did talk to Andrew at Health Trust. He had some really good ideas. We're still formulating some of those and talking between our two selves to figure out like what makes sense, because it is a balance between keeping our employees with good insurance, but then also we have to understand that this is a significant cost to the town taxpayer. You know, $600,000 for 27 employees. And I'll just throw this out there to you. I myself, when I first looked at this, what really stood out to me was one, that we had a zero deductible plan. I personally haven't been offered, and I'm retired now, but it's been a long time since I can recall my company even offering a zero deductible plan. And I have asked, I brought my card tonight. I mean, I'll show you. I have a $7,500 deductible plan now. But I've asked people, you know, what do you have for deductible? And I have not found anyone who has a zero deductible plan. And Andrew did confirm with us that he's not surprised that I'm not finding anybody, because I think he said it's been like 25 years or so that private sector figured out that they could no longer really afford to offer the platinum zero deductible plans. And that he said, but that the public sector is just beginning to catch on with that now and start to have to, you know, make some changes based on the costs of that plan. So that's number one thing I think hit me was that, and he mentioned about the zero deductible plan. The second thing that kind of stood out to me was the fact that when you're giving a benefit to an employee, I would have assumed that, and I checked around, like trying to find out what other municipalities do, and 75-25 seems really reasonable about what people are doing. Nothing wrong with that. It just surprised me that we don't do 75-25 just for everybody. So whatever plan you take, you get 75-25. Sort of like other benefits that we have, whether it be New Hampshire retirement as a percentage of salary. You know, if you make more, well, that's more. If you make less, it's less. Or the FICA, you know, you usually, to be fair, because this almost seems like it's like the guy who's the single gets a really good deal and the guy who's the family has to pay 25%, you know, so I'm really, that kind of surprised me. I had always thought that we were 75-25 for insurance, but I think, any questions on this chart? Hopefully this doesn't time out. This is the dental insurance summary. So it's kind of similar. The town offers two plans. One is option 5 that is kind of and what Andrew explained to us is he was really surprised that we still offered this. He said very few people actually want this plan because it doesn't do much for you. It's only 50% preventative and basic. There's no major dental with a $500 a year max. And then we offer a 1C plan that covers 100% preventative, 80% basic, 500 for major dental, 1,000 year max. So he said that our rates are actually higher than typical because we do offer 2 dental plans. And he said most municipalities only offer 1. And just as an example, he told us that if we only offered the 1C plan, that single rate goes from $54 down to $49, right? It's like almost, it's a 9% decrease in the rate. And it's much, you know, so, and again, when you look at this, I have the town cost and the employee costs, but the dental insurance is done completely different than the health insurance. It looks like on the dental insurance, the current way the employee handbook is written is the town pays the single person rate. So if you look at option 5, the total cost is $18.80. The town pays $18.80, the employee pays nothing. So they then take that $18.80 and say, if you have a 2-person or a family, we'll pay the $18.80, you pay the difference. So if you look, really, the town is paying 51 and it's 49 employee for a 2-person. The town pays 26% and the employee pays 74% of the family plan. And then on the option 1C, which is the better plan, it's more expensive, the breakouts are just about the same. They do the same thing. They say, well, we'll pay for the single plan. So if you're a single plan, the town pays 100%. But on a two-person, it's like almost 50-50, and on a family plan, it's 29-71 on the percentages. Again, because the town is only expending the $54.36 that was for the single plan.
I pulled up the section in the employee handbook, if that would be helpful.
Yep.
I'd also talked about emailing that to you if it would be useful.
Thank you. Just so you know, I got the numbers that I got here were from the town administrator, and she did confirm with me just before this meeting that this table was correct per the handbook. So, because I know, Led, you and I had talked beforehand that I wasn't, the explanation I got was that the town paid for the employee, but that the employee picked up for the two-person or family. So my interpretation was this, and she verified that these dollar numbers
For
were correct.
dental specifically?
Yeah, for dental.
Yeah, there's a
For
different,
dental.
there's a much longer paragraph for health insurance, and I'm not
Right.
sure.
So I think this is it. I think this is my last slide. Yeah, this is it. So honestly, this is kind of where we're at now. And Andrew was really helpful. He says he does this all the time, obviously, with municipalities. I think the next thing would be, we probably would come up with a recommendation that we would present to the select board and the budget committee, because the select board owns the employee handbook and what offerings are given to the town employees. But on the other hand, we, the budget committee, do own the appropriation line for health insurance and dental insurance. So I think it's best if we work together to say, hey, I think we can improve the costs by changing the plan slightly. Are we all in favor of this? Because if we're all in favor of it, then the handbook can get changed, and then the budget appropriations would be the same between both us and
And
the
I just
budget.
want to be clear that, just to reiterate a conversation that we had earlier, your goal here is not to cut employee benefits.
There's never been an intent to ever cut medical or dental insurance at all. No, never. It is strictly, like I said, on looking at the way we do this. In some ways, I think it should be done a little fairer for all the employees. And secondly, I think we really have to evaluate the cost, the total cost of this, and can we do things more cost effectively, but still give our people really good insurance? And I will tell you this, the other thing we told Andrew, because Health Trust does offer a lot of plans, but Michelle and I both absolutely stated up front, and we told the town administrator, there would be no way we would ever recommend changing to a different provider. In other words, we have Blue Cross right now.
Is there another provider in New Hampshire?
I don't know, but he said there was different plan offerings that we could do, and that you would have to find potentially different primary care doctors and plans, and we were like, no way.
Yeah.
Because any of us who've gone through that, when your company changes to a different provider, it's just a huge hassle. And no, so we definitely told him that was totally off the board, so we didn't want to look at anything that would cause that. But yeah, thank you for bringing up that issue, because.
So I had not looked at this since last year, and right off the bat, the first sentence says, the town provides full-time employees with health insurance. The town will offer 3 insurance plans. Plan options A, B, and C.
Right.
And then it goes on to say what portion of A, B, and C are specific.
And he did say that it's not uncommon that sometimes these plans and handbooks go unlooked at for long periods of time. He didn't say that. And the other thing he told us is whatever we decide to do, he definitely would come here and give us like an overview to
Mhm.
budget committee, select board employees, where they could ask questions, where they're really, they're really good. They're really responsive. I mean, like, not like any insurance company that I've ever dealt with, because they're not an insurance company, to be honest, but they are very responsive to the municipalities.
Did you or he bring up the in lieu of? Because I think our in lieu of is very low. It's $25 a week, just compared to how much we pay if a person takes it.
Well,
So,
it's interesting you brought that up, because I actually brought it up only from the other view. I was like, why would you think that incenting somebody some money is going to have any effect on them not taking insurance? People, the only reason why I believe an employee is not going to take insurance from an employer is because I mean, it's mandated that you must have insurance now anyways. So you have to have health insurance.
I don't know that is that.
Well, yeah, you must. If you don't, yeah, for your taxes, you absolutely, Obama, yes. It's a federal law. You have to have.
Hilarious.
Anyways, the only reason why someone's an employee will not sign up for employer-provided health insurance is because they have health insurance from somewhere else is better. And I mean, so the idea of incenting someone a little bit of money not to take a real, like an insurance plan that costs the town, whatever, a lot of money. I think, again, these are things that were left over from a long time ago that really don't make sense. I don't know why we would offer an incentive. Like I said, it doesn't.
Well, it
But
factors in when they're weighing their insurance versus their spouses, for example.
Or when you're talking about the total compensation
I agree that
package.
it's not large enough to likely
What's that?
sway someone from taking
Bless
it
you.
or not taking it, but it is part of the formula that one would be doing in their household when they sit down. Something that would be
Yeah.
interesting to look at
For-
is like so 27 elected to take the insurance.
Right.
Out of how
No.
many total employees?
No,
No, that's total.
5 didn't take it out of 27.
5 out of 27.
correct.
And so the savings on that 5 times what's the yearly town cost per employee?
1,300
1,300 a year.
a year. That's $100 a month,
And so
roughly.
if you get rid of the in lieu of, if even one of those people
Yeah.
decide to then take the insurance.
What I'm saying is, like, I can be honest with you. I try to find a person who has an employer who pays them anything if they don't take insurance.
Usually you get paid if you take a higher deductible insurance plan.
So I think it is
There
more
were-
uncommon with first responders. And I think going back to something that you had talked about earlier, that total compensation package, that would factor in, right?
Right.
So if they're looking at what their salary is and maybe what training we'll pay for, and in addition, if they know they don't have to take insurance, then I think that's where that would, kind of like what Dan was saying, calculate in. And I know that
I agree with
Some-
Dan that
some
it does,
towns-
it helps a person who, like, but I just think that when you're looking at an insurance that costs, I don't know, I mean, it's like $39,000 a year for the $1,000 deductible plan, right, for a single person, right? Yeah, $32,000 for the family plan, right? Offering somebody $100 a month, it just seems, again, I don't see how this incents someone not to take
no, I think
insurance, but.
I speculate that there is going to be a request that they get more than that to incentivize them to not take it.
It's interesting though, because if you were looking at whether to take, if you're on a family plan, whether to take, if you had an option of this plan or a partner's plan, it wouldn't, in my understanding, it wouldn't be, oh, well, we get $100 a month. It would be which one costs more and what are the benefits, not, because they don't have, there's no cost here. Like, there's little cost, right? The $200 a month for a couple and $279, that's like pennies compared to what you pay in a private sector.
Hold on, what?
So this
Looking at the second
is like
gold option.
that's like pennies. So the incentive is we're incentivizing people to take these high cost to the town plans because the cost to the employee is so low compared to any other private health insurance. Like that would be $800 a month for or even more for $1,000 deductible. Do you know what I'm saying? I don't think the incentive is that you get paid when you don't take it. The incentive actually is that the cost to you as an employee
Well, I
is
guess
so.
I guess it depends on if you're comparing like another municipality, or I know education. I think education insurance stuff is usually done with the CBA, and therefore they have more control over those insurance buyouts, I think. So like there could be other factors that are not just simply how much does this cost or how much, but like it's not compared to the private sector. It's compared to another public sector. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, thank you for doing this analysis. It's really helpful to see all of it. I think
Right.
there's some levers here that you've sort of
Huge
highlighted.
lever.
One being the dental, we're paying more just simply so that folks can have the option, but no one's even taking, hardly anyone's even taking that first option. Like there's levers like that.
Absolutely.
And so the in lieu of, we can debate whether that
Yeah,
is a lever we want to pull or
right.
not.
I agree.
But yeah, there's, I would love to see the next step.
Yeah,
It's like,
I think that'll be, like I said, we have work to do on that. This was a meeting that we just had, and he gave us some ideas, but I think we have to
So
kind of like,
helpful.
yeah, so.
Very helpful.
And just so you know, I mean, I know there's history here too. There had been other groups that had looked at this in the past.
I think Michelle is legitimately the only one between all of us and all of this
Correct.
that was there. So
Still standing.
That,
There have
and,
definitely been discussions
it's like
about
we've
Right, but
started.
never-
we're starting over
but-
again.
right, but I think this year we'll go further. The only other thing, I'm just going to point this out is, and maybe one of you can explain it, but I just thought it was an interesting note, is that there are 3 people who signed up for the $1,000 deductible single plan. Do you see that?
Mhm.
And the monthly cost is 0, right?
Mhm.
But the single no deductible platinum plan costs 0.
Yeah,
So-
like what's
I guess I just was like,
So I think, and I would have to go back and look again. I think the zero deductible plan has copays, and
That are
the
different.
1,000 has copays, hard stop,
the,
oh,
and the 1,000 deductible plan does not.
I think that's what, is
The
that what
20
that line is? The
and 40.
prescriptions are 10 and then 20 is a copay or something?
Yeah.
I don't
I-
know.
I thought the RX plan on both was the same, to be honest with you. Right. And Letty, we have the details of the copays.
Oh, I
I-
have an entire.
I could have sworn that the copays were the same on everything except on the $1,000 deductible. There was one copay that was 45 versus the platinum was like 25. I don't remember,
I
but
can't
they were
remember
all the
last
same.
time I had a health insurance plan where there was a copay, as opposed to just like
Really?
paying until you hit your deductible.
Oh, okay, so mine is like, there are certain things that you have a copay for, there are other things, no, you just have to pay the full amount
Until you hit
until
the
you get your deductible.
Usually
Probably like preventative
care.
things, like,
Sure, sure,
you know,
sure.
physicals, whatever.
Yeah, we can all take out our.
No, thank you. Let's not.
Yeah, I have a copay. Anyways, I don't, let's
I
not,
have
we don't,
copay
we,
and a
we've
high
talked enough
deductible.
about this. I think that we have work to do, but the next step would be, I think, maybe make some suggestions and see what it does do to the overall cost and how, what changes can we, what levers can we pull and push on and see what we can do with the cost without, and see what, what it does.
And maybe
you know.
see if there's some leveling to be
Right,
done.
exactly,
as far as the-
Exactly.
Yeah, let's just run
Split.
some scenarios.
Absolutely.
before calling
This
anything
is super
suggestion.
helpful.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
how possible is it to have just one plan, or Letty, you said the handbook says we need to offer 3. Do we need
For
to
health,
look at?
for health insurance.
do we need to
For
look
dental-
at 3 different plans?
For dental, it
or-
doesn't say that we have to offer a certain number. It just says,
So if we're going.
Do we offer 3 now?
no,
No, we don't.
So
There's
maybe
only
just
2
the
now.
handbook
Okay.
needs to be updated.
Well, I'm just,
I mean, there were definitely 3 plans. There were definitely like higher deductible plans that you could offer that would be cheaper. But
oh, yeah,
if,
yep.
so if they say that you must, if we must
So-
do 3, we can get 3.
I can tell you that when it was time for open enrollment last year, the board was not in a place where they could do any research on whether or not we should offer a high deductible plan or not. We just wanted to keep what we had. Just wanted to keep what we had. So I don't think it's a bad idea to,
Yeah, like a high deductible.
What are these
Right.
2 rows at the bottom that no one's participating in? MC3, MCNR.
I thought those were, I'd have to ask
I
them.
think
I think
that's
those, are those retiree accounts? Are those retirement plans?
No,
I don't know.
I don't remember. No one wanted them though.
So
so-
if we're
I
saying
don't
A, B,
know.
and C, maybe that's C.
I didn't even ask them, to be honest with you, because no one took it, and I knew we wanted to stick with the same type of plan that we have now, so they didn't have to change any sort of provider.
Is it,
Is
the
it like a
code is
medic-
taking the same format in terms of RX 1020?
Mhm.
No, hold on, I can look, let me see.
do we have people that are on Medicaid or Medicare? Because maybe that's what those are. That's like the supplemental.
Oh, maybe,
Medi-C something.
maybe, yes.
And we,
And we just don't have any
Don't
right now.
have them doing it.
That's not true, because I know that I've seen the bills, and I know that we have. I know,
or maybe they're taking something they don't need to take. Like maybe somebody that could be on one of those MC ones is taking the other one because
Oh,
they
maybe,
have
maybe.
the option.
I can tell you that when we got the chart with our choices this year, there are there is a high deductible with an HSA. There are 3 different HMO options, 4 different HMO options, and also PPO options. Look, there are choices.
Yeah, and he did review some of these with us, and we took notes on that. That is some of the things we would be sharing with everybody, and I'll be able to get, one of them is the HSA, that like there's ways that we could potentially fund.
Savings.
We could potentially fund, like,
Retirement.
okay, so now guess what? Now, I know you had no deductible. Now you have $1,000 deductible. Oh, by the way, the $1,000 deductible that they have has what's called COS. So if you need to have an X-ray or an MRI or something, if you go to one of their providers, there's no deductible, none.
No cost.
No cost, right? So anyways, so really, he said, like, even though it's a $1,000 deductible, you can prevent paying that if you go to, and he said, where we're on the seacoast, we have it's not like we're in the middle of nowhere. The other thing he did say is that there are ways that we could fund like the second half. So like on a single couple or family, we offered, we'll pay so much of that
Like a
deductible.
reimbursement.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's an
Or-
account that can be set up.
Or towards the HSA.
That's correct. That's
Yeah,
what I
so
mean,
like-
toward the HSA. So, and he said, so, and you'd want to do the second half. And because, they might not use it at all. And what happens is if the employee doesn't use any of that, you can carry it over to the next year. By law, you can carry it to the next year.
The employee
If they,
carries,
we
right?
do, the town. I'm talking about the portion, the town says we'll pay half of that. Like, we'll put aside so much money for the employee
We
towards their,
we won't put it directly in. So the way that I think
and maybe.
is that we.
Why don't we wait till the next time,
Sure.
because we're just getting ahead, because I want to make sure I document this all, and then it'll be really good discussion for all of us. I don't have my notes right now, and let's not leave something for next meeting.
Right. I think. Yeah, I feel like we talked about this the last time we did a CBA with the teachers, where if a single person deductible for a high deductible plan was $2,500 a year, we would put that much in an HSA for the person. So it's still cheaper for us than paying for the single, right?
That is correct.
And they,
Correct.
okay.
And honestly, and there was some rules, that's why I don't want to, like, there's, with health trust, you can, I thought he said you can only do 50%, but that's all they allow.
Sure,
Anyways, there was some, but yes, there's
But even if
absolutely
we fund it
ways.
upfront, it could still be cheaper.
Correct.
And then the
Correct.
employee has
Right.
coverage and they're not panicking.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
About
Yeah,
switching.
so there are a lot of options that we could sort of lay out.
Yes, and I want to be
Very
clear
many.
that the select board intentionally just decided to stay the course last year.
Yeah, I get it. Well, you had a lot going on, so I
Yeah.
mean, it would be impossible to try to do
It's
that.
not like we are not, well, speaking as one of five, I don't think the board is uninterested in exploring other options. It's just last year was not the year.
Oh my gosh, of course not.
And
You know,
now
I-
you have it.
Plus, I
Prepared
really
for you.
mean this, that this is a joint, I mean, we're collecting, but from the very beginning, you're here
Mhm.
as one of us. I had talked to the chair about what we were doing and said, as soon as we get information, we will share this with everybody, because it's not just our decision, so I think it should be something we do together.
I am really confident after that conversation, though, that we can have other options and
Let me
and a
forward
substantial
you
savings.
the chart that I was just looking at.
Okay.
I'd really love
Um,
to cross-check, like, what was presented to the employees as their options compared to this, because you started to list off like a bunch of other options that I'm not seeing reflected here.
No, this is what was presented to the employees.
Okay.
And I can tell you that because I did the presenting. And this is literally what we so I had asked, what's his name? Andrew. I had asked Andrew for what the town currently had, and he sent me a list of which plans we had, and those are the ones I presented. Because, as mentioned, we were gonna.
Do you know when they were last even reviewed for any
I
changes?
can't
or it's
answer
been a
that.
while?
I've only been on the board for a year and a half.
Fair enough.
It's been a while. But let me send this to, I'm gonna send this to Michelle and Jim, and one of you can send it to everyone.
I have to run. I reviewed this expenditure report and I appreciate all the questions you sent to Andrea. And I look forward to continuing these discussions.
I don't see
Where you going?
Well, not tonight.
Soon,
With the whole thing?
soon.
No, it's just, feels like a gunshot.
Do you need to learn some quick dance steps? Because I know someone who could teach you.
I mean, that's the.
Mine's not.
Have fun.
Yep. Listen, whatever. That's me. That's me.
Yeah. All right, I have a 7-minute stop.
Yeah,
Hard stop?
Yep.
honestly,
Thanks.
the only thing I had left was the expenditure report, and you all have it. Basically, it just, I explained how Letty and I met and went through the July expenditure report, looking at total appropriation, how much we had spent year to date. If something looked out of whack, we both agreed to send it to the town administrator asking for explanation, and I put an attachment that shows what she provided back. And I think she explained most of them to my satisfaction. I don't know if there was any questions on that, but the only other thing I was going to bring up is that HB 200 was signed into law by the governor in July, and HB 200 is the because I don't know if you remember when we did the tax cap review on one of my slides, I mentioned that it took a 3/5 majority to do a tax cap override, and then
And that wasn't.
and that was
accurate at-
not
At
accurate.
the
It was
time.
not. It was not.
is now.
It was not accurate at the time. I went to NHMA, and they actually told me that no, it's not. It's a simple majority. However, there's this thing, HB 200, that is actually in front of the legislature now, and it did pass. So it does require a 3/5 majority. And at town meeting, it would require a ballot vote as well.
I don't, I wish that it wasn't retroactive,
Yeah.
or
I-
that we had to reaffirm that
And just
I
so you
don't
know,
like rules changing after you've already accepted something.
and just so you know, it does say in paragraph 2, it says applicability 32.5B as amended by section 1 of this act shall apply to local tax caps adopted prior to the effective date of this act and shall not require local amendment or readoption by the town or district, because that was something that came up at the legislature, but it failed. So we don't have to readopt the tax cap. And it takes effect 60 days after passage, which obviously is in time for town meeting and town budget. That is all. And then I had scheduled initial budget requests with all department heads, but Letty, actually talked to me about this a little bit. It's not really up. It's kind of early, but as we already talked about, I think it's
I don't
Part
want
of
them
s-
to be spooked.
correct.
I want to make sure that they.
No, and I think it's more of let's see what your committee says tomorrow. I think the select board needs to kind of get this going earlier than we have in the past. It's going to benefit all of us, and I really suggest, I'm hoping that the select board takes that first step to ask for those requests. And I'll be there tomorrow night if we need a little bit of pushing. Okay. Any other new business from any of the members?
I don't think so.
Comment?
Dan? Good. Anything for public comments, public participation? Want to come up? Chad? You can do that, just as long as you turn the microphone on and speak. And then we just need your name and address for the record, so Michelle will get it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, please.
So, Ched Miller, Dudley Road, Brentwood, New Hampshire. So I was listening to the conversation because I'm very curious about how the whole tax thing's going to work out. I have two real quick thoughts. We have a lot of focus on the town right now. I would encourage us to also look at the school because it is the bigger budget. And I noted in my favorite newspaper, the Brentwood Newsletter, that we had the bonds listed for the town. I didn't know if that was to include, does the school have any bonds left at this point, or did we finally pay it off?
Go ahead.
The school has the bond for the solar panels.
Yeah.
And the co-op has the bond for the CMS expansion. I'm not sure if there are any other ones other than that, but those are the two. I think actually that's the only one that Swayze has at this point, right?
That I'm aware of.
Yes, I think it'd be helpful to, keep looking at it as a whole. The other part is, the first part of the meeting kind of focused on how we're going to deal with the tax cap. And the second part, we got into the health plans, and I think, there's like two ways when we used to get budget challenges. You could look at it from a zero-based budgeting standpoint. Was one of my various bosses' favorites, which means you come in with no budget and you have to justify every penny you spend. And this was in a Fortune 50 company, so it wasn't like they didn't know what they were doing. The other way you can approach a challenge, because I mean, this is basically what we have to have a 4% budget increase, is to look at the business, if you will, of the town, which is like any business. There's operating units, which are the police and the fire department, and their staff. And you can come in and say, the 4% applies evenly across the board, or you can come in and say, we need to continue to fund the operating units. We have to focus on the staffing for purposes, and by that I mean administrative services, to meet our budget challenges. And I think that's, I think to Jim's point is the earlier you start that conversation, the better. as a taxpayer, I don't want to be sitting in town meeting trying to decide who gets what, because as somebody who managed budgets for 47 years, you know, don't tell me how to spend it. Tell me how much I have, and I'll figure out how to spend it to make sure I meet my goals. Because in the end, you'll fire me if I don't meet my goals. So please, you know, don't say keep that person and get rid of that person. Just tell me, here's how many dollars you have, here's how to spend it. But I think in the transition, it's going to help the various departments understand the challenges associated with trying to meet this 4% rule. Everything's going to have to be looked at if you want to continue to grow certain things. You know, if you want to address, you know, a fire department, a police department, a building, well, you got to take something from here to pay for that over there. And I think most of us who've been around a while will understand that you need to get people to be part of that process to really get them to buy into that process. That will only happen by, I think, the approach you're taking, Jim. Get involved, get started. You know, the first year people may slip into February and be in deep trouble. So the more you can get people involved, the better. And, you know, and my last 34 years was being responsible for the benefits of the corporation I worked for. And, you know, nobody likes to see their medical change. I have so many bruises that have indented into my body. You can't even believe it. But the fact of the matter is, the world is changing. And what used to be considered a fringe benefit is we now call overhead. It's not fringe anymore. I mean, in major corporations, you're probably spending on how you run the calculation anywhere from 40 to 60% of your comp. So if your compensation is $100, your fringe benefit is 60. So it's not something you can look at and say, we don't have to be concerned about it. I mean, that, you know, it's absolutely clear that corporate America has started to change their medical programs almost 30 years ago at this point. And the idea of providing $25 incentives, I mean, it's just not done because the overall package is going to make you decide which way you go on. We, in fact, studied that for probably 6 years to see if we were getting any migration, as we used to call it, into the high deductible health plans. And finally, like many corporations, we said, that's what we can afford. And it had to be done. So, I mean, I appreciate nobody wants to touch medical, but I think to be successful under the 4% challenge, you're going to have to probably look at everything to see if it's working. You know, what do we really need to do to retain and motivate our employees? And it's a difficult process. And I said last time when you were worried about that trust thing, I would be more than happy to help out and help in any benefit area or compensation area. I did the first comp and benefit study for the town of Brentwood with Cross, and I did it like I would do it at work and presented it. And we made adjustments that we addressed over time in the comp. I mean, past history, you know, people said if you work in the public sector, you're not going to get paid too well, but you're going to have great benefits. That's gone. I mean, people are getting paid well in the public sector, but now they've got the great benefits.
I don't know that I would agree that they're getting
You
paid
know,
well.
Feel free to disagree.
No,
I'm
I just-
offering my ideas.
No. Just the part about getting paid well. I'm not sure that.
Yeah, I remember when, and again, it's been probably 20 years that I did the comp and benefit study for Brentwood, but it wasn't as far off as you would think it would be. I think a lot of people thought the people in the public sector were getting like 50% of what people in the private sector were getting. I didn't find that to be true at all. I mean, we had a superintendent whose salary I challenged was making at that point $95,000 a year. And if you look at at similarly sized SAUs, he was making more than the guys in the SAU up at Hanover and in Manchester and in Nashville.
Sure, sure.
But,
I mean, for sure, that was what I mentioned about doing a compensation packet, like a presentation. I mean, I'm only looking at the Brentwood employee, like just so that we all understand, instead of guess what we think it is, to really look at what is the total compensation package for an employee who wants to work in the town of Brentwood. Because like I said, I think it's something that we could use when we want to incent people to work here. We can show that. We can also help employees understand that it's not just about their salary and their raise that they get this year. There's the compensation package, and these benefits do increase in value over time. And when you were talking about a 4% across the board approach, that okay. But the problem that you also will run into is that there are parts of the budget that are going to grow at more than 4% that we have. The trash, for example, we know.
Minimum of 5%.
Correct. Letty and I know what we all know. It's a minimum of 5% or whatever the CPIU is, right? The greater. So like that line. So if we told everybody 4%, we're done because the trash is going to sink them, right? So I'm hoping that it's more of we're getting the approach like, look, you got to kind of hold what's going on. If there's something important that you need, you got to let us know so we can figure out what we can afford to do this year, what do we have to put off till maybe next year. And that's the message, I think. And so far, I know, the department heads that we've done the site walks with, we've said the same thing to all of them. I think they totally understand it. And we'll see what the numbers come in at. But
I think what's key is that there's a process involved. And the other part of it is the leadership has to support it. Because if the followers think the leaders aren't, that's a message that we're not going to do this. In fact, the matter, it's going to happen. I mean, I don't see any way it can't happen.
okay.
I mean, I think not today. At the building committee meeting, we had talked about getting that first year payment within the 4%. But as a member of the select board, I recognize that that might mean that there's something else that gets kicked out, maybe to a warrant article, because the select board might still think it's important,
Correct.
but because it's over,
Correct.
like,
Correct.
so I think that is where
And
we're trying to
just
be
so you know,
responsible and also giving people the choice, right?
and just so you know, like, the numbers are the numbers, and that was absolutely me speaking from our committee, giving the numbers that we all already had.
Mhm.
I do, my opinion, what I was trying to share is that if I think the probability of success is higher if we can sell it to,
No,
if it's within. So
Absolutely,
that's
but
was
what
my
I'm
point.
saying is if the select,
And for
and I'm one
sure,
person, so I can't
Yep.
decide everything for the whole board, but if the select board also wants to, like, if we're gonna do the same thing and put the bond within the 4% cap, then there might be something else that we're gonna just have to push out
Agreed.
to a warrant article, to your point, and then
Correct.
it's the people's choice.
Correct. And I think we should also know that there might be some things that you can try. If the warrant fails, it's a priority for next year. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that type of stuff. We have that, we know together what are the things that we gave up this year because we
Well,
prioritized
and I
other
know
things
that,
in front of it.
other members of the select board at meetings have at times talked about how they want to give people more choice. And so it wouldn't surprise me if, maybe not next year because it's new, but like over the next couple years, maybe the select board is always putting 10 warrant articles forward and the people get to pick which
You know
things
something?
that they think are
I-
important or not.
I noticed that in other towns that happens. I mean, going through getting my comparisons, I have to read town reports to do it. And I saw that a lot of towns do that. They will put rec. It's a warrant article, the appropriation, library, for their, whatever their library. It's an appropriation that the voters
Like a
vote.
warrant article.
It's a warrant, that's what I mean, it's a
Sure.
warrant article. It's not built into the budget. So like you said, now it comes down to, okay, it's a 4% tax cap. They get some decision right at town meeting. The legislative body can determine. And they can amend the warrants as well. They can
Right.
amend them down or up if they want.
If they decide that we should add more to the building maintenance fund or
Correct,
whatever, they can change
correct.
that number.
And, that is that might be a good approach too, yeah. So,
Yeah, I expect I can answer any question you have about comp or benefits, and I do it without,
Okay.
any money. I got enough money.
okay.
I got lots of money. And I can tell you how people got there. I mean, I can tell you how the incentive process worked, when we put it in, how we tried. And we were a technology company, so, we relied on results to demonstrate our decisions, which is, and it was pretty rigorous. I mean, I worked for a bunch of engineers, and we bought a company that had scientists, and I had the scientists arguing on the engineers on who were the smarter people in the room. I said, I'm neither, so it must be
How do you translate that into a municipal setting though? Because like, in a business, your success is marked by your sales, right? Or how much money you're making, but what do you look for in a town to
Right.
see if you're doing it?
I think the clearest message at this point is the tax cap. When I was on the budget committee, I always liked to look at, how much comes in on taxes, how much, and I think you do this, how much comes in through fees, et cetera, et cetera.
Mhm.
And we looked at what the building permits were to get an idea of what those new revenues from the taxes would be.
Mhm.
And then we compared them to the budget and said, okay, what can we afford to increase? I mean, it's a different type of profit. The profit is what comes out of the taxpayers. And I'm kind of simple. I just deal with math usually, and we take into consideration what.
I like math, so I'm not being flippant. I really, if we had some way, because kind of like what you were talking about, last year we had, this is what was budgeted, this is what was spent, and we used that kind of to decide where we could maybe make adjustments in January. So in terms of success though, I don't know how we.
Yeah, that's why I do agree. There's, in private sector, you have you can send surveys, customer satisfaction.
Right.
But at the end of the day, are they buying your product or service, right? And are you making a profit? I mean, that's what it comes down to.
And I guess as long
And
as
with
people
this,
are buying houses.
but one of the things I did was, that's why I thought looking at similar municipalities and just at like an appropriation, because tax rate can be deceiving, as we all know, right? Because depending on when your valuation was last done, and but if you I was just looking at the appropriation levels, like for similar municipalities on a per capita basis, like you can get an idea. Like if you're kind of in the middle, you go, well, I guess we're like everybody else. But if you're kind of way above or way below, this is back to the engineering thing. You start to go like, there must be a reason. There must be a reason. If you're in the 89th percentile of spending on a certain budget line item, you say, why is that? When, again, we're talking about a town that has same amount of people. It's in our same county. It has a similar evaluation. Why are we so much different? Whether you're way higher or lower, you have to, I thought that was one way of looking at how are we doing. I did, but it is different than, there's not a P&L statement.
Because it is a business, but it's not, right?
Correct.
You want to use some of the efficiency techniques
Yeah, exactly.
to maybe
Exactly.
look for ways to make it
Yeah.
better. But when you come right down to it, you can't really increase
Exactly.
the same way.
Exactly. So,
I mean, I think the success is all going to be dependent on the leadership. And I think you have recognized that you can't have everything and keep adding, because you have a fixed limitation.
well,
The balloon doesn't get bigger.
I'm not sure who you're referring to on leadership, but I'll just say this. I am surrounded, this board, I'm blessed. I got elected onto a board that has some really good people, and I know we're gonna do our best here to get this to work right.
The problem is that, you know, it's hard to make decisions that don't feel good. But
Right.
money, I mean, in our personal lives, we make those decisions every single day of our lives.
Correct.
Just ask my wife, she'll tell you how many times I screw up.
I personally, I wish that we weren't doing tax
night.
cap at the same time as reevaluation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because I think that that is gonna.
I'll follow up with that.
things.
We're gonna need a session to make sure people understand
They're not gonna
reevaluation.
understand, they're gonna be so angry.
I know.
And they're not gonna understand why.
Maybe that's something for next meeting to talk about.
Sure.
Anything else, Mr. Miller?
That would be all.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Motion
Oh,
to
you're
adjourn?
welcome.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you so much. Have a good night.
You could say it happened.
You missed it.